Let's discuss the config tool online. Now you might be asking yourself, why would I need the config tool online if I have a configuration tool on my computer? Well, the answer for that is pretty simple. Unless you want to spend hours poring through pinball machine manuals, looking up the actual solenoid switch and lamp designations that they used, or tear into every script for every table that's created across numerous platforms looking for the information, the config tool remains your easiest way of obtaining all the information you need to have in order to create your own configurations using my tool. In order to do that, you're going to need an account with the config tool located on VPUniverse.com. And to that end, what I've done in the release package is include the configuration somewhere in here. There it is. Include the configuration screens that you need in order to be able to easily translate what you get from the config tool into the TAO config system. So you're going to want to go into the folder in your installation package. Under the DOF installation, you have the DOF config online config tool settings folder. And in there I've given you screenshots of how I set up my account in order to be able to download information in such a way that I can most easily bring it into the system that I'm using to configure my TAO board system. Your account settings, you're going to want 2 LED Wiz devices and 1 WS2811 device. That's your serial controller. You're going to save those settings, and then you're going to go into your device 1 and with device 1 you're going to want to set up basically all your physical output devices, and you want to do it in the same order as I have listed here in the screenshot. That's going to align with your outputs from the flasher section to the end of the board. It's going to be under device 1, and you're going to do an LED Wiz device just because that gives you the cleanest, most raw indicator of what the switches are. Your next one is device 2, and your device 2 is, once again, an LED Wiz, and it's going to give you a direct output config INI file of number 2, and that's for the people that are using the add-on board. So if you've purchased an add-on board and you want to set it up for chime control and whatever else you want to add to it at the back end of it, you're going to set up ports 1 through 4 as your chime unit, and then whatever your other custom outputs are or whatever other toys you want to add to it on the back end, you can do at that point. And then finally, your WS2811 screen, which is your serial controller. Now, what I did was I set up the flashers to be the playfield back flashers MX, and the strobes to be the playfield back strobe MX. And if you notice off to the side, there's some settings that you can use to configure certain effects. Now, your shaker motor fan and toy duration in milliseconds, they become redundant at this point in time because these are global settings that get put out in the direct output file that we're not actually going to use. These are all individually controllable from the config editor screen of your TAO system software. The custom brightness will still work. Because what we do with the information that comes from the direct output config 30 INI file that the config tool creates, we do a direct copy and paste of that information into the serial config editor screen in the TAO system software. So if you make changes with regards to your custom brightnesses here, they will translate easily to the output from this screen, and you can copy and paste and drop it in. Now, for the strobes are running off of a red channel on a serial addressable chip that's on the TAO board. So rather than have them set for white, we need to switch them to red so that it addresses the strobes to the right channel of that control chip. And we want to use square 3 only because I found square 3 puts it nicely in the matrix within the software matrix that direct output creates when it comes to addressing serial addressable LEDs. I've also created some combos in order to give me a little more activity on the side strips. So generally what you would do is you'd do the playfield right flashers and the playfield right effects. What I also did was added in some back effects and back strobe effects to those side strips, and they're under combo 3, 4, and 5. Now combo 1 and 2 are just as easily used and give you a much shorter string. You just don't get as many of the effects I found with regards to activity while you're actually doing gameplay. So you want to create some form of combos, and you want to drop them into or assign them into the screen for your WS2811 device. In this case, because they're the side strips, I've got them in port 7, port 10, 13, 18, and 23. Once that's done, and you've saved your port outputs, then you can generate configuration files from DOF. When you get your configuration files from DOF, they come down into your computer as a zip file that you're going to unzip, and that's going to give you your direct output config INI file, your config 2 INI file, and your 30 INI file. It also gives you the most recent shapes, output shapes, and table mappings. Now these files you can take and drop into your config folder in your direct output folder, and that will update those to whatever the most current are. To be honest, I don't think they've been changed in quite a while, but you never know. Somebody may do an update with that down the road. The files we're going to use for figuring out our outputs are going to be the first 3 files. The direct output config INI file, of course, is your main board feedback file. The config 2 INI file is your add-on board file, and the 30 is your serial addressable. That covers how to go about obtaining the direct output files. The next video will show you what you can do with them. Thanks again for watching, and we'll be back with more videos.